Hi, my name is Javier Bardem, and I feel scared about being Conan O'Brien's friend.
You should be scared,
I know.
Javier. You should be scared. It is great. I mean, maybe the greatest honor of your life. I'm sure I haven't done any research. I don't know if you've won any awards of any kind, major awards. I've heard talk of an Oscar, but who knows? Those things can't be verified. Yeah, who cares?
Who cares?
This is the true honor of your life.
No, listen. Everything has led me to come here today. I worked hard for years, for ages, to be in front of you, man, because I love you.
Yeah. You know what was great? This man, you would come on the late night show many times over the years. You came on several times, and you were always so funny because you just spoke from the heart. And it was so fantastic because you would look at me and you go, "Hey, man, your hair, you look like a fool." And the whole crowd would go crazy because they were like, "Yes, Javier, get him. He was like, "What is this? What are you doing, man? What are you doing?" It was fantastic. I would laugh so hard that on the way to the podcast studio today, thinking about seeing Javier again, I was laughing, thinking about it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
The only thing that I will ask for in any promotion is I want to go and see Conan O'Brien. And that's the only thing. That's
so
the must.
nice. That is so nice.
And here I am today. I'm so glad. I'm so honored.
Your dream has come true, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I know this.
I hope it's really up there as I imagine.
Well, this is a problem now. I used to have this problem with women. They would imagine that, the word was out that I was a great lover.
Oh.
When did that get out?
Yeah.
Well, I kept putting it out there.
Okay, I figured.
And then, of course, there was always disappointment and crying.
Oh.
I was crying often. But you're here now. It is so great to have you here. And we have to get a few things out of the way because we have some major insane fans in the room. My friend here, Matt, and I'm going to bring this up right now, is obsessed with James Bond movies.
All right.
And I agree with him. He maintains, and I will back him up on this, we both believe that you may be, if not the best, one of the greatest.
I don't think there's even a question, frankly.
Best Bond villain.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Best Bond villain. And your performance in Skyfall was so freaking insanely good. And I had all this mixture of qualities where there were times where I felt sorry for you. You sucked me in, and then I felt sorry for you, but then I hated you, and it just kept swirling around. What about you, Matt?
Well, even just now when you said that everything led up to this moment is very much like what Silva says for James Bond.
James Bond.
And frankly, I almost fainted.
Yeah.
But because Conan is the most similar thing to James Bond. I mean, exactly, right?
Yes. And that I'm very pale.
I'm going to open your shirt very soon and start caressing your bare chest.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God.
I did that to Daniel Craig. Can you believe?
Yeah.
I am the man who was touching Daniel Craig's breast.
Yes.
Like this close.
He was the man that had you touch his breast. That's the way it goes. Yeah.
Yes.
I wish
Now,
I was there.
it's funny. You always wonder how planned out was a moment like that because it's such. You haven't seen that happen with James Bond, and it's this move. It's this move that's crossing all kinds of lines. It's so shocking, and I think, is that the kind of thing that's discussed beforehand, or can you just go for it with Daniel Craig?
It was written, but till the moment we got on set and we started to put it on our feet, it was not. We didn't know how to achieve that moment, so we just. And Sam Mendes loved rehearsal, but he said, "You know what? We're gonna shoot it. Let's see how it goes." And Daniel is the best partner ever. He was having a blast. Like he really wanted to go as far as we could, as far as the studio will let us go. And I think the chemistry was there because we liked being with each other and playing with each other. And but I think Sam Mendes was the heart of the heart and soul of the whole thing. He really wanted to create this profile of a villain that you can relate to, and it's more reliable than.
Also, I thought that your relationship with Judi Dench, as that's mom, and trying to relate to James Bond, that we all do this for, the Queen is mom, and this is mom, and so there's that element to it also. And I thought it was one of the most, it's the most emotionally complex relationship with a Bond villain, and showed you what these movies can do, what they can be. Because we grew, when I was a kid, I grew up and it was just, you must die, Mr. Bond, and petting the kitten, and it's a caricature. It's fun, but you never thought of these kinds of moments.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that little walk you do from your monologue intro, is it true that they built that set basically the length of your walk so you could time that out?
When I got there, the set was built, so that's not a lie. That's a lie.
Okay,
I have to walk.
I just want you to know I'm a huge liar.
Okay. That's why you are in this program, in this podcast.
Every day he says, Conan, I really admire you. You're so funny, and you're good looking too. Why aren't you in film? He says that all the time.
Yeah.
No, the thing is, it's true that I never rehearsed on the set, but once I was there and I saw how far Daniel Craig was sitting down on a chair, it's like, man, how am I going to do this? And I'm going to tell you, we did it like 7 times and he was not there. So Sam and I, we look at each other and we said, this is not, we haven't done it. So, and he said, you know what? Let's play the scene. And at the end, if there's some time, we'll go back to it. We play most of the scene, most of my side of the scene. And then in the last 20 minutes, he said, are you ready? I think we can make one of those more. Yeah, let's do it. He put the camera and I did it. And that's the one it's in the movie. Because my body was more relaxed. Yes. It was more at ease.
Yeah.
When the first thing in the morning to do that for me was a little bit of a shock.
Oh wow!
And it's funny because Daniel, the camera was on his shoulder, and he was like rooting for me because he was seeing me how I was coming to the end mark, and I was making it happen.
Yeah.
And he was like, yes, yes, yes.
And at times you're taking these little baby steps to make it time out, but it works for the character. This kind of like almost a little boot, scoot, and boogie.
Yeah. Now you can see it sometimes, if you look really closely, Daniel Craig starts to high five you.
He puts up a little finish line.
Yeah, and they had to cut around it, and it's that got a little awkward. And not to just totally fan geek out, but in addition to that movie, one of my I'm idolize the Coen brothers, and then I think my favorite of all their movies, if they said, okay, you get to pick one, I would say No Country for Old Men. And as great as that cast was, I know you came on the show to promote it, and had the nerve to show a clip of Anton Chigurh, and then minutes after showing that clip, turned to me and told me that my hair looked stupid. And I was like, wait a minute, you're an assassin who looks like Dorothy Hamill on skates, But it was such an amazing moment for me because I still had the more ridiculous hair than Anton Chigurh.
Exactly.
It's funny, we talk about these things as accidents, but obviously so much training, hard work, talent. I've been thinking about your career, how your mother was a very famous actress, activist, and you came from a long line in Spain of actors. And some people say, well, maybe it sounds like a cliche to say it's in your blood, but it must be in your blood.
Yeah.
This desire to do it and do it correctly.
Absolutely.
And you were very interested in art as a child. Mm-hmm. You were were you not educated to be an artist in some way?
Well, I guess I was born into it, and I saw my mom and my uncle was a director. My mom was an actress. My grandparents were actors. So everybody was working in the thing, but I saw more the downs than the ups.
Yeah.
There was a lot of unemployment. There was a lot of struggle in trying to make some money. Mm-hmm. But I also saw the decency, the honesty that the job will bring to them and what they will bring to their job, and how much passionate they were about their craft.
Yeah.
And the respect they have for not only the job, but also the people that is in the job and makes the job with them. So I like that very much. I felt that was a nice way to go. And once I decided to become an actor, I knew that I have to really be responsible for the surname Bardem that belongs to many generations, and that's why I always try to do my best, as everybody. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, but you know, we live in this culture now where people want to be famous, and they're very interested in being famous. And over the years, I've had people that are interested in doing comedy that say, you know, I want to do what you're doing, and I want to be famous. And I think it's not the reason to do it. Being famous just means you take selfies at a restaurant. There isn't that much. There's not a lot to it. It's a pretty thin soup. There's not a lot of sustenance to it. You really have to love what you're doing. Yeah. And I think that's important for people to know that. I mean, you were thinking, you never thought to yourself, I'll make movies internationally or I'll make movies in the United States. You thought I might, or I've read anyway, that you thought this might be, I might just work in my whole life in Spain as an actor, and that would be fine.
And not only that, I thought I may not be able to make a living out of this, but I don't know what to do else. I don't know what else to do. I mean, I'm very clumsy. I don't know anything. And you know what? Many of the actors I know and actresses are very like me. Like they only know how to perform. They don't know to do anything else. And that's fine. If you know at least to do one thing in your life and you are lucky enough to make a living out of that, you are blessed. And I guess I bet on that. And I've always seen my steps, like as you were saying with Silva in Skyfall, like little steps. Like I never imagined or thought of myself going to anything big or achieving this or that. It's like, what if I make this job and it's good enough for them to call me again? And that's still what I think of when I make a movie or I make something. Is like, okay, is that really bad? Is that bad enough for them not to call me, or can I keep on going? And that's something that I guess I got from my family, because everybody was waiting for the phone to ring, and I guess I have that fear still, like it's not gonna ring anymore. But that's fine, because that gives me
the drive.
The nerve and the drive. Yeah.
I mean, did you ever think to yourself, how do I make this jump, or did they come to you? Were you recognized, and people said, okay, we have to get Javier Bardem, and that's how it happened?
No, it's funny. It's one accident after the other. I mean, my two biggest movies that really opened the market to me in Spain and out of Spain were accidental. The one Jamón Jamón. I was accompanying my sister to make an audition, and I was sitting down near her, and then they asked me, "Do you want to come in and do an audition?" I said, "No, I don't want to." "Yeah, come in." "Okay." And they gave me the job.
Oh my God.
And before Night Falls,
wasn't the part your sister wanted, I hope. Put on this wig.
Same with the Bond villain.
Another wig. Yeah, exactly. Your sister was this close to being Silva, and then you had to go to the audition with her.
And the other one, Before Night Falls, with Julian Schnabel, I met him in a party in New York, and he said, would you like to make a movie in English? And he's like, no, I don't want to. I don't speak English. I said, well, why don't you try, read this? And I was going to play this little role. And I said, okay, I'll try I'll play that as an experiment. But then the person who was going to play the lead fell apart from the project. And he told me, will you do it? No, I don't want to do it. Yeah, you are doing it. You have a month. I said, oh, fuck. Okay, I'll try. And then I did it. But I never expected that anybody would watch that movie. Yeah. And it happened that I was nominated for an Oscar for it, which is weird, because I thought nobody's going to watch it. Who cares? I'm just going to see if I can play in English. So, but don't you think other movies that I thought this is a masterpiece? Yeah, they were like buried.
That happens. That happens again and again and again in this business. It's never the thing you think.
Absolutely.
You think, okay, this is it. And it's not. And sometimes I try to encourage people, because there have been times in my life where the thing that I thought was going to really make me early on when I was younger didn't happen. And then I could see later on if that thing had happened,
Right.
the thing I was meant to do wouldn't have happened. It's all gets very mystical, but I believe in it. I believe there's something to it.
You should try podcasting in Spanish.
Es importante que nosotros.
Look at that. Yeah.
You are a graduate of Madrid's Escuela de Artes y
Oficios.
Oficios. Sí.
Yes.
Pero Eduardo.
I take it back. Don't cut to Eduardo.
Eduardo.
Don't save him.
Háblame.
I just about ran out.
Just ask Eduardo.
Eduardo. I just have to keep saying Eduardo to fill it out. Eduardo.
I think the word is ayúdame.
Ayúdame, por favor.
Sí, claro.
Claro que sí, sí. Who have been the people that you've met when you achieved this level where you go into these premieres, you're going to these places, and there's an actor that you idolized and they look at you and they're excited to see you when they come over? Does anyone who pops for you where you think, oh my God?
Well, I have Conan O'Brien.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
I mean,
well, that was a big moment for you,
That was a big moment for me, and it's always a big moment.
Okay, that's the peak, but what's near the peak?
That's near the gods stuff. Now, talking about humans, I will say Al Pacino.
Yes.
Al Pacino.
It's so funny.
Al Pacino sent me a phone. He called me after watching Before Night Falls, but it was 2:00 in the morning in Spain, and it was a time where there was a tape, an answering machine with tape.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
So I was sleeping. I was like, who's calling? And then, hi, Javier. It's Al Pacino. Yeah. And they were like,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get the phone. Like, Al Pacino is calling my home. I saw the movie. I liked it a lot. And congratulations. I was like, and then I went and I play it again and I play it again. And I have the tape.
Yeah.
So the first day I met him in Toronto Film Festival, I went to the toilet and I took a picture with a camera, no phones at the time, of my face in the mirror, because my face was like, I'm going to meet Al Pacino. And the good thing about it all is that he's such a wonderful man.
Yes, yeah.
So when you meet someone that you admire so much, you go, and he's even better than you would imagine.
Yeah, he. My first encounter with him, because I, grew up on the Godfather movies and then Serpico, and it just, Dog Day Afternoon, and it just, he is such above a star to me. He's something else, and so I was working on an award show in the States, and I think I was in LA, and I did my thing and went all right, and then I go backstage, and it's in a commercial break, so I go backstage, and suddenly they're bringing all this scenery through. They say, clear the way, so I get pushed into this little room, literally pushed into a little room, side room, to make way for these guys to come through. And I look around and it's just a room with me, a tiny room, like the size of a phone booth. And it's me and Al Pacino. And I'm dumbstruck, and he goes, Conan O'Brien. And liquid shit just comes out of, I urinated it, I defecated, that was awful. Like it came out of every pore. Conan O'Brien. And I went, Mr. Pacino, you have no idea. And I just tell him how much he misses me. And he was like, and then he puts it back on me and he's like, no, you, a tightrope every night, a new script, you gotta wing it, madness. And he's just going on about how, oh, sure, I've done The Godfather, but I saw you with Al Roker,
And he was liquid shitting himself.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. But I thought, this is, no, sir. And it just blew my mind. And then every now and then I'll be in New York in a restaurant, and it just happened recently where I hear, Conan! and he's there in the corner in a restaurant. And I get to have these little conversations with him. And what I found is in the last one, I'm so self-conscious about taking up his time that I'll have a few back and forth with things with him and then I'll say like, well, have a great meal and so nice to see you, and I run away. And then he apparently, because I ran into this woman who was at the table a couple of days later, coincidentally at this other event, and she said, Al was like, why did he run away? I ran away because I'm scared.
Oh.
You're Al Pacino. I don't want to waste. He fled. He flew. Why did he go? But that would be one, I would think.
That would be one.
Yeah.
Yes,
He's
yes.
just a guy that, And I read somewhere, and this is something that I completely agree with because I'm on record as saying this a long time ago, but you were starstruck and had a bit of a man crush on Brad Pitt.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't? I mean,
thank you.
of course.
Because there are many times where women have said to me about men, don't you think he's attractive? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't, it doesn't. But Brad Pitt, I think, damn.
Yeah.
I'd sleep with that guy.
Of course.
I don't even know how it works, but I'd do as I was told. That's Brad Pitt. I'd have someone explain to me what my role is in this. Am I up top? Am I down below? Am I against the... I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Somebody told me I'll just
do it. Do it. Draw a series of drawings, a diagram. But I mean, it really is like he's so charismatic and good looking, and I don't know.
Exactly. I agree with that. So maybe the three of us, we have something to do together.
Well, listen, you're the one that has the pull here.
Yeah.
The call has to come from you, Javier. And then when she says, like, you know what, I really love you, Javier, and yes, you and I should get together, that's when you have to say, no, there's one person I want to bring along. And Brad's probably like, oh, well, it's, I don't know, I guess it's another huge, it's Tom Cruise or it's Ben Affleck. And you're like, no.
Eiffel Tower.
Oh God!
It's happening. Right. It's happening.
It's happening. It's happening.
He doesn't know it yet, but it's happening.
Oh boy!
When does this come out? Does this come out soon?
This comes out on Brad Pitt Threesome Day, which I think is...
Guys, I'm here to promote a movie for kids. Okay.
Let's clean this up. Hey, when he said threesome, he meant bicycle built for three.
That's right.
A ride to the park.
Exactly.
And then we all eat sandwiches
the
together.
remake of Three Men and a Little Baby.
Exactly.
Not to harp on this, but to have all of that success. It's funny because when you brought up Knocked Up, your character, there were so many original takes in that movie, and the way that your character talks to Leslie Mann, and the way you talk about women's pregnancies and things, and it was so... It's funny because I found you to be really charming, and it's right on the edge of very inappropriate and creepy, but I still was delighted by your character. Yeah. And also I could see the women not being sure, like... Yeah. He's on the line, but he's also strangely comforting and lovely.
You found my secret weapon. It's that like I can walk the line between charming and creepy and like somehow land in charming. And we try to I'm doing this new show and we tried to like utilize that because it's a guy going through a breakdown. This is not a segue, but we're trying, this guy's going through a breakdown and he's still practicing therapy on people. And I said to them at the beginning, like, you can push him into unlikability. I'm like pretty confident I can land him back in likable. It's fun. It's fun to get pretty close to creepy.
You brought this up, and I want to talk about it because you're playing a shrink. You're playing and the show is called Shrinking.
Shrinking, yeah.
And what I've understood about the show so far is that you're doing the one thing that a shrink is not supposed to do, which is because of your breakdown, you're telling your clients, you're telling the people that you're treating exactly what they should do, as opposed to the classic, tell me how you're feeling, what do you think you should do?
Yeah, this kind of exercise in keeping somebody in therapy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Endlessly, like, tell me your problem and we'll just kind of pontificate on it. There's this scene where I'm with Harrison Ford and we have this conversation that I think is really true. It's like true when you're talking to a friend too, who's like dating somebody terrible and you can see so clearly that they're terrible. You're like, just break up with the guy. You can say it as a friend. But in therapists, I'm sure having that same experience, like, oh, I know how to handle this. Like I could solve this like that. And so he just starts doing it to varying degrees of success and failure.
What made you, because you obviously have a lot of clout and time, you can pick what you want to do. What made you say, this is it? Because was it some of it your struggle, or no, I wouldn't say struggle because everyone goes through it, but your own relationship to I want to be happy that made you interested in playing a psychiatrist?
Yeah, I think it was that. And also, after How I Met Your Mother ended and I did like a string of romantic comedies, I hit this period where, like I said, I realized I wasn't whatever everyone was telling me I had one life, I didn't feel that way. Mm-hmm. I was trying to figure it out. So then I started doing some dramas. I did a movie called End of the Tour that you and I talked about on your show once, and I did a few others. And I delved pretty hard into drama and got, I like to think, pretty good at it. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, but you're also weird and funny. Like, you're not supposed to just throw that part out. And so then I got this call from Bill Lawrence out of the blue saying, hey, I'd like to make a show together. And when he and Brett Goldstein pitched me that, it felt like the end of an M. Night Shyamalan movie when it all makes sense, because it's a drama and a comedy kind of mushed together. This guy's going through the death of his wife and his own nervous breakdown, but at the same time it has like big set comedy pieces, and I felt like, oh, if I'm going to do comedies again, this is how to do it.
You know, I do love that we're in this era. It used to be, remember that, was it like a fast food sandwich? I don't know if it was the Quarter Pounder or something, but they said we keep the cold and the hot.
That's the
the
McDLT,
McDLT.
bro.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
bro.
I'm sorry.
Get with it, dog.
McDLT.
That's the McDLT, bro.
Wow.
Okay, why did
You
everyone?
both knew that
Why
right
did you both?
away.
You both jumped down
This
my
guy,
throat.
yeah.
because every
As if-
American should know that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was Canadian.
Yeah.
And came here a few years ago.
I didn't know that either, Conan, if it makes you feel better.
Yeah, and you are the queen of fast food.
Yes, I am.
You are.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I'm not from this country, so it
No,
makes sense
oh
that
God,
I
I
don't.
would never do that. That's terrible.
coming for sure.
Terrible. You're from
I almost said
the island of Altadena. But anyway, a storm-scarred island. But anyway, the whole idea is like the tomatoes and the lettuce are kept cold. And
Yeah, we know how it works.
No, excuse me. God, it got hostile in here.
Yeah.
Anywho, the analogy I was trying to make is that there used to be an era where there's comedy and then there's drama and never the twain shall meet. I started recently as an exercise. I don't know what came over me, but it was around the holidays. I thought, I want to start rewatching The Sopranos because I watched it when it was originally on, but I want to see it again and try and figure out what made it so groundbreaking at the time. And one of the things that really hits me hard is it is so dramatic, but also so funny, and you never know which is coming.
Yeah.
And the comedy is really very funny. They don't indicate the comedy too much, but the characters are absurd, and some of the situations are absolutely laugh out loud, insane. And then, of course, it gets extremely heavy. And I like that we live in this era where the two coexist. You can make a show that is, I'm thinking of like a show like Severance, where there are times where I'm really laughing, and then it couldn't be more deadly serious. I like that we're now in that world where that's allowed.
Yeah, I feel like prime James Brooks was that very much. Broadcast news, to me, it's like a perfect movie. And even within one scene, Albert Brooks is like imploring Holly Hunter to see how much he loves her and to recognize it. And then it's filled with like comedic assassination punchlines, you know?
Yeah.
To me, that's always been the sweet spot.
Yeah, and almost impossible to hit.
Judd told me when I was writing for Eating Sarah Marshall, I asked him, because I pitched it to him first, and he said, this is a really good idea. My advice to you is write a drama. Because of the way you see the world, this thing is going to end up funny. Even in the way you're describing it, it's going to be funny. Write a drama. That's what's going to keep people interested. And if we need to layer jokes on top, we will. And I think that that's true. Like, I see the world funny. Even when I'm like having tough moments, like even when I'm getting dumped naked, I'm like, God damn it, this is funny.
Right.
And
you can step outside yourself, see the silliness of it, and say, I'm going to record this for later.
Yeah. Well, and I try to experience it that way too, because I don't know. Otherwise, there's a version of life being a real bummer. I mean, life's hard, so finding the fun stuff is important.
I agree. I think, I don't think a day goes by when I don't realize that, I'm using my sense of humor to cope. It is not my profession. It's actually just my coping mechanism that I somehow, in a Houdini-like manner, figured out a way to get paid for my coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Which for most people is like getting paid to drink.
Totally.
It's like,
Totally.
How old were you when you got Freaks and Geeks?
I was young. I was like maybe 19 or 20, just out of high school.
It is amazing how that show is such a kind of Rosetta Stone in a way for so many great, not just a style of comedy, but so many of the performers have gone on to be kind of pillars, comedic pillars, and have these great careers.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that happened.
It is. I look back at that period, and there are other like comedic groups who have had this, but I think that we really had the biggest gift was we had the naivety of youth. Like we did not understand how hard any of this stuff is.
Yep.
And we were just determined to make the thing great. And then like Seth Franco and I would go to my house on weekends and rehearse alone, like unprompted, rehearse the scenes for the next week and improv them and like try every different version of them. I've never done that since. Like, you don't do that on a movie. Like,
Yeah, we can't get you out of your trailer.
no,
half the time.
Harrison Ford's not coming over to my house and like run these lines. But I think that there was something really special about that period because look, they did like an international search for freaks and geeks to cast that show. Like none of us were even that focused on like an acting trajectory at that point. We were all just figuring it out. Then when we realized it was going to be hard, this other thing happened where when one person would do well, they would put the other people in the other people's movies. And then slowly everyone's becoming a little bit more successful and then everyone has their own movies. It was really special.
It's like you had started a crime syndicate.
Totally. Totally.
That reminded me what you said, something that I think is very true is I chalk up, especially when I started my late night show in 93, I was so young that I didn't know what we were up against. I had a sense.
Yeah.
I had a very strong sense. What we mostly had was just youthful, exuberant, we're going to make this crazy show, and then we're going to make another one, and then another one, and then another one. And I think after like 4 days, we thought, we did it. And someone explained to us, no, you need to keep doing this for years if you're going to make it, if you're lucky enough to make it.
Yeah.
But
you did. Don't you feel that way? Like your show was innovative and different and new and felt so different than everything else that was on TV.
But you know, you don't feel that way. I mean, this is what we're like, you don't feel any of that at the time.
Right.
You don't. All you feel is the terror and and you have little moments of it. And then my experience with it has been, you put all that on hold. You say, someday if I can survive this and get through it, I'm going to sit down and really appreciate it. Yeah. But of course that doesn't happen.
Totally.
You put it on hold for so long, you just realize that you spend a lot of time coping. And I think that's how a lot of people, I mean, that's basically some of what you've described as well, which is you're going through it, you're trying to make something happen, and then suddenly you're told you're supposed to feel a certain way. And if you don't feel that way, you think something's wrong with you.
Did you have... Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah.
Did you ever have interviews? I'm sure the answer is yes, but where it just like, it felt like the person was just not good at this? Like,
of course.
Yeah. How do you handle it?
This is my take after many, 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 many years. I think, and things have changed now. It used to be that a late night show was how you promoted a project.
Yes.
Now, there are a lot of people who are very good at walking out in front of a room full of strangers in an audience, bright lights, music's playing, and sit down and be charming and delightful for 7 minutes, commercial break, and then 5 more minutes. A lot of people are good at that. And then there are people who are, it's in their genetics, they're just not meant to do that.
Yeah.
They're wonderful at what they do. Yeah. Terrific. They're amazing actors. You can get that camera really close, and they're fantastic. But what they're essentially doing is saying, we're going to bring in this, species that's meant to live in the desert, and we're going to have it swim the English Channel. And they're just not meant to do that. And so there were many times where people would come out and I could see, I mean, these are iconic actors who have nothing to fear, but they would walk out, music playing, audience, and they looked like a lobster that was still alive, but its shell had been taken off.
Yeah.
And I had real empathy for them. They were terrified. Yeah. So mostly I just felt this is a flawed system.
It was always, to me, the most stressful part of my whole job, doing talk shows. Mm-hmm. I think that it is a much more vulnerable and scary thing to say, like, I'm Jason Segel and I'm here to charm you. Versus being a character or like,
of course, yeah.
Watch this thing. And then also, like, coming from comedy, I was mentored, like, you have your 3 or 4 stories. You know how to tell it. You have your punchline. Like, this is essentially like stand up with another person kind of like bouncing off of you, which always felt like so stressful to me. I never really felt at ease.
You know, I came to the conclusion at a certain point, don't try to make a circle a square, meaning if someone's coming on and they're a terrific actor, I used to tell the segment producers, don't try to say, come on, what's your funny story where you bought the bathtub and it didn't fit and then you took a shit? Come on, Dame Judi Dench. Chalamet. It's got to end where you take a shit. You know, it just, but I came to this conclusion that if someone comes out and the audience can tell that I have real respect and reverence for them, and we have a conversation, sometimes you could hear a pin drop, and they would leave and go like, oh my God, that must have been terrible because there were no laughs. And I'm like thinking, no, people just liked hearing the conversation. Right. To try and make everything bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing is a mistake if it's not there. Yeah. And if you have someone who's talented in that regard and can do that, then fine. But trying to make things something they're not is very uncomfortable to watch in any medium, especially television. And that's what I left after all these years, is what I learned fairly early on is don't try to, don't have Anthony Hopkins on and then try through segment producing to have him tell 75 pre-prepared stories and jokes. Right. It's a waste of Anthony Hopkins.
Yes.
Talk to him and he'll be fascinating, and he is fascinating.
You want to know a weird thing?
What?
It's so weird that you say that. I made friends with Anthony Hopkins really like briefly.
Yeah, real prick, by the way.
Yeah, no.
I'm kidding.
Randomly, he would text me jokes.
Really?
Yeah, I would just get these jokes from Anthony Hopkins, like written out, like from a joke book.
What?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Isn't that a weird detail of my life?
That's
So cool.
but it's just so funny too that
Well, you really blew it with your segments with him. Man, you could have had some good
I
jokes.
blew it.
Yeah. He really likes old
I remember he kept
jokes.
asking me, when should I go to the dentist? What time? And I'm like, Sir Anthony Hopkins, you're a great actor. You should go to the dentist anytime you want because you're such a great actor. And he'd go like, no, Conan, what time should I go to the dentist?
It really was like that kind of joke.
And he
for sure.
just wanted me to say 2:30, and I wouldn't do it.
He loves it.
Oh, and you love that joke.
Oh, it's such a good joke. Because if your tooth is hurting,
Yeah.
you understand.
Yeah. It's a good time.
Yeah. Thanks, Sona. You're always there for me. I was upstairs. We're here at our office complex. I'm going to make it sound bigger than it really is.
Complex.
huge.
Yeah.
It's the building.
No. It's
huge.
the old Howard Hughes aircraft company that I purchased. It's well over 85,000 square feet. It's like Stark Industries here. But I was upstairs, and I can hear everything, and I heard you show up and instantly felt everybody here in the building got very happy. You have people are happy to see you. You
That's
must
nice.
find that a lot.
Yeah, I think there's a couple reasons. I've done a lot of things where I'm your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
For 10 years I was your best friend on How I Met Your Mother,
Yep.
in the house, and I've been Paul Rudd's best friend in movies 1,000 times. So people feel relatable. I think also I have to personally work a little bit hard at happiness, internally.
Interesting.
And so that manifests, I think, outwardly.
So it's a conscious choice you think that you're making every day to be a happy person.
I wake up, I have to work a little harder to get to zero, and then I push.
Really?
Yeah, and then I push it a little past.
You know,
zero.
it's interesting. It's probably a lot of people might say it's the last thing they would expect because you have. Well, first of all, you've brought a lot of people a lot of happiness, myself included.
Thanks.
You've done so much really funny work, and I'm going to tell a personal story, which is when you were shooting your Muppet movie. You did the sweetest thing. I think I ran into you somewhere on the Warner Brothers lot, and no one had ever done this for me before. You said, hey, if you have any young kids, which I did, come on by and watch me shoot a scene. And my kids were electrified, and you couldn't have been nicer about it.
Oh, cool.
So you're a genuinely nice person. So when I hear that you have to start a little below zero in the morning, it makes me... I wish that was not the case. I wish, but everyone has their semi-struggles.
Everyone's got their stuff. Yeah. Mine's not bad by any means, but I found a note from that I wrote to my parents when I was 5 years old. They actually had it framed for me. I guess I've always been this way. It said in like little kid chicken scroll, now I know that no one likes me. Hate Jason. I signed off real strong. I signed off hate Jason.
Wow. Now, where was this coming from? Was this
I don't know.
this some sort of weird emotional dysmorphia, or do you think kids really didn't like you?
I assume emotional dysmorphia. The thing that's like, moms get it so hard because at the top it said, "Dear Mom and Dad," but then I crossed out "and Dad."
Oh no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, poor moms.
Oh no.
I like decide at the last minute, no, Dad's okay.
It's such an indictment when you find actual proof like that.
I know.
My parents found a letter that I wrote when I was 6 that said, "Stop me before I kill again."
Yeah.
And no, but it is like, I remember I kept journals in the 70s when I was a really young kid. And so much of it, as I recall, was about how anxious I was and how nervous I was, and I didn't want to go to school tomorrow, and please help it be okay. And and I look at it now and I think, what was that kid so anxious for?
Yeah. I look back and wish I could have said like it all works out okay. But I was also like 6'4" since I was 12. I was always just things were just a little off. At least they felt that way.
You were a good athlete. You played basketball, right?
Yeah, well, I idolized my brother, who's like a star athlete, and so I set out to like try to impress him, and I became pretty good as a result.
Right.
Oh, I just thought of something that's kind of funny about little kids writing stuff and the Muppets.
Uh-huh.
When we, I haven't thought about this in a long time. When we finished the Muppets, we did a test screening just for little kids.
Oh, that's great.
It was so cool. It was an audience filled with little kids, and then we had them fill out forms after about what they liked and didn't like. My character's name is Gary. And so they said, what did you like about the movie? Muppets are fun, just things like that. Mm-hmm. Songs are nice. What didn't you like about the movie? And one kid wrote, Gary's face.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
it's
boy.
like so specific.
Yeah.
It's so specific.
Oh. Well, what was that kid's face like?
Yeah,
You should
damn
talk.
right.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Yeah, fuck that
Actually,
kid.
I know that
Yeah.
kid. That's a good-looking kid.
Really?
Yeah.
It was
Real easy. It was a young Timothy Chalamet. He was at the screening. He was like 8. And he's right. Compared to his face,
That's right.
our faces suck.
That's right.
Well,
No,
now he's
absolutely
outed and we
right.
can go after him.
Yeah.
Let's get him.
That's fantastic.
It's the best. It's the best.
You do have those moments where no matter what you achieve in this business, and you've achieved quite a bit, it doesn't matter. I'm always reminded there's something very humbling. We're all about 5 seconds away from being brought right back down to how we felt
Totally.
about ourselves in 3rd grade.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think one of the really important things I learned, and I learned it early, luckily, but it caused like a version of a breakdown, was you're really indoctrinated to believe like these things are going to do it.
Yes.
And then if you're like crazy lucky enough to achieve the things, and then you find out, it doesn't do it, it's like a scary moment.
Yeah, well, I have witnessed that with people time and time again. I've talked about this before, but I call it the revenge of the nerd syndrome, where people grow up and they think if you're unpopular or you don't feel very good about yourself, the fantasy is I'm going to become famous and it's going to fix everything. And of course it doesn't. And then what you see sometimes is rage, which turns into depression.
Yeah.
Because rage turned inwards is depression, and that's what I think happens to a lot of people, and it's just scientific. They think, because I'm thinking about it, you had so much success in your 20s and really at an early age.
Yeah.
That you probably came up against it. You start to get into your early 30s and you realize, well, wait a minute, I've made hit movies. I have, I think, done everything you can do in this medium. I'm star of a huge sitcom for years, 9 years. I can say I want to make bring back the Muppets, and it happens. You have that ability, and yet you realize something. I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled with what's happening.
Yeah. I think that I was like making a mistake where I bracketed those things from real life. Like, when this stuff is done and accomplished, I will then go live a great real life. But then you're doing this stuff every day for years and years and years. And then I started to realize, I'm missing it. Like, my friends are having brunch and kids and like all this stuff. And I'm like, I wrote another script, like something, I'd missed something along the way. I think also, like, the very thing that makes you able to do it might be the thing that kills you if you don't like take your foot off the throttle.
Yep.
Especially if you felt awkward as a kid, there's a real like, I will show them quality that is like really helpful motivation. Like, watch this. Am I allowed to swear here?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
You're actually encouraged.
Okay, oh great. Yeah. No, but you're like, watch this, fuckers.
Whoa, language.
Yeah, sorry. I knew it.
Yeah, we didn't know you
fucking
were-
knew it.
Yeah.
I knew this was a trick. When
Jason,
I was
we didn't say the F-bomb.
No.
We meant like,
I
damn
get
it,
it. I get
doggone
it.
it.
I thought you were going to swear like you were going to promise us.
Yeah.
when I was wandering through these
An
endless
oath. We
halls.
thought you were going to take an oath.
Yes.
I
We thought it was
knew.
going to be, I swear upon my heart.
Damn it! On the 20-minute walk through this office I knew that this was coming.
Through our research and development
It was.
facility,
take off.
our laboratories.
I knew
This is
it.
bullshit.
I knew it. No, but like, so a really interesting. I tend to note these things and try to remember them. But my best friend is a really smart guy, Irish guy, and
For you to call us best friends is very meaningful.
it's really sweet. I meant it when I said that thing at the beginning.
And I am Irish.
Yeah.
No, please continue.
I wrote something like 7 years ago, and it never got made. And you know how it goes. It's like a parabola, your relationship to the business, and things are nice at the moment, and got a call. Maybe we can make that movie after all, right? And I was sitting with my friend. I have a really lovely house in an orchard in Ojai, and I was sitting there, and this thing came out of my mouth. I said, "Gosh, I hope I make this movie. That'll show him." And then my friend looked at me and he kind of like looked at the orange grove and he said, "Jason, at this point in our lives, who is them?" It was a really important thing. They like shook something loose in me.
Yes, yeah.
Who's them anymore? And they don't care.
Right. Well, first of all, I know exactly who they are. Right. And I am going to fucking show them.
Damn Chalamet.
Well, I'm sorry, but what has he got that I don't got?
He couldn't be more your opposite.
He
Timothy
could-
What
Chalamet.
are you talking about?
Every
We
single
opposite.
We are both very good-looking,
Nothing in
talented
common.
young actors.
That's right.
Young actor.
We are.
You're neither of
I
those
am a
things.
very powerful actor in my 20s. And for you to fucking say it. We actually had a complete side note. A good friend of mine is uncle to Mr. Timothée Chalamet. And
Wow.
years ago, we were doing this week of shows at Comic-Con. My friend, Rodman, said, "Is it okay if I bring my son and my nephew along?" And I went, "Sure." And they came along. I don't even remember this. But they came to
Yeah.
our like rap party.
Yeah.
No one was talking to them, so I was chatting with them. And then I swear to God, he hits like a year later or
Yep.
2 years later. I was telling people on our staff, Timothée Chalamet was at our rap party, and they were so enraged. And I said, I brought him around. I introduced him to all of you. And you were like, yeah, move along, twerp.
Yeah, that's right.
So young.
He was so young.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think some of the people on our staff beat him. Yeah, they had cudgels. And
That's
they
what
just,
we do. We beat people.
Yeah, it was that kind of part. The
Yeah.
parties where if you see someone who's young
Whack
and doesn't
'em.
belong there, you
Yeah,
whack
you
them.
get him. You get him.
So we really beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, we fucked him up.
And then they were like, "Oh, you think he'll come back?"
He used to be really good looking until you guys got a hold
Yeah.
No, he was really ugly. And our beating, we beat him into
Beat him into beauty. Yeah.
of it. Oh, you beat him with the pretty stick.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
sure did.
He owes his career to us. And our beat down at the rap
He got
party.
radical plastic surgery after our beating, and the doctor took off the bandages and like, "Oh my God,
I'm
You're
a
gorgeous.
genius.
you
You're
need to be in
gorgeous.
Dune." That's what the doctor said. One of my favorite comedies of the last, 15 years is Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh,
I think
thanks.
it is such a perfect comedy. And I think many comedies come close, or they get halfway there. That is so sweet and so nice and so funny. every time I watch
Oh,
it.
thank you.
And so my wife and I, that's one of our, like, if that movie's on, we are watching it.
Cool.
And I like seeing you naked.
Yes. That movie is really honest. I think that's why I wasn't trying to be funny, as crazy as that sounds. I got dumped while I was naked, and so I put that into a movie.
Okay, this is what I want to ask you about, because I've always heard that you wrote, you were 24, I think, when you wrote the screenplay, and that you wrote it very quickly based on a real breakup. Is that true?
Yeah. I was dating somebody who was amazing. I'm like super in love, and they had to go away for a little while, and they came back and called me from the airport and said, hey, can I come over? And as an adolescent young man, I thought that meant, like, we've been apart, I need to have sex.
Yeah.
So she arrived at the house and I had decided that the way to really, like, kick off this sex was that I was waiting on the couch totally naked, like posed, like comedically.
Pose like a woman in a Botticelli painting.
Or Burt Reynolds.
Like, yes, like Burt Reynolds.
Yes. I'm going with Botticelli.
Yes.
Rubens.
Yes.
You go with your Burt Reynolds. But...
I will every time.
I can I'm remembering it viscerally now, because so she walked in and there I am laying, and I said, I've got a surprise for you. And then she said, we need to talk.
And you are as vulnerable as any mammal can be.
Yeah. And I'm fairly confident that it's not the end of the sentence is, we need to talk. This sex is going to be wonderful.
Yeah. Right.
And so this, like, breakup starts, and I'm naked, and the whole time I think this is, like, maybe the problem. I'm thinking, like, this is so funny. This is going to be amazing when I write it.
As it's happening.
Wow.
You are thinking, this is screenwriter's gold.
It was absurd. Like, it was absurd what was happening. And then a part that didn't make the movie, I wrote it in, but it was too long when we made it. I stopped in the breakup, and I said, I need to put on clothes. And she said, okay. And so I went into my bedroom, and then I spent, like, 25 minutes picking out an outfit.
The breakup outfit.
Yes. I'm, like, taking shirts off and throwing them on the ground, then trying pants on that don't quite fit right. And
Comes out in a tux.
I came out
6 times in different It was Pretty Woman.
I came out in a button-up blue shirt and khaki pants.
Blockbuster.
And then I said, I'm wearing your favorite outfit.
Oh!
Yeah.
Wow.
Body blow after body blow.
Yeah. And so there was that. And then simultaneously, like, during that period, I am admittedly, like, a weird dude, and I've loved puppets since I was young. And I was writing a Dracula puppet musical to be like, this will show them.
Right.
I remember going over, I finished my first draft of this Dracula puppet musical. I recorded all the music by myself in my apartment. I was sure it was really special. And I called Judd Apatow, and I said, I have to show you something. And I went to his house. And
naked.
Yeah.
Gotta stop doing that. It's not helping.
Yeah. I played him the CD, and he listened really patiently, and then he said, you can't show this to anybody ever.
Wow.
And and then it just, like, stayed in on the computer. And then years later, when I wrote Forgetting Sarah Marshall, I said, I'm ending it with this puppet musical, Judd. And he said, it's your movie, do it. And like, everything about that movie is really authentic to who I was.
I love the cast so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I love everybody in the cast. And Mila, who I know personally, she's such a lovely person. She's a life force. She's so fantastic in that film. There's so many things I love about it. And I have to tell you, every time I watch that, I want to see more of the musical.
Yeah.
Because the music is really good. And I always want to see more of the Dracula puppet movie and Van Helsing. And the whole thing is really fun.
I had a plan recently. Remember when Lin-Manuel Miranda released the, like, making of Hamilton? Mm-hmm. I wanted to do, like, a kind of a mockumentary of the making of A Taste for Love that showed Peter bringing it to Broadway and, like, all the behind the scenes. Maybe one day.
You should do that.
Yeah, it would be fun.
That'd be fantastic. So I'm curious, you wrote that movie very quickly, and how soon afterwards did it get made? Did a bunch of years go by, or was
No, it got made the next year. Knocked Up came out while I was writing that. And then basically, I think that Judd, when Freaks and Geeks got canceled, had a like kind of Monte Cristo revenge mission. Like I'll show him kind of a recurring theme. You know, you were wrong to cancel the show. I'm going to systematically make these people stars to show you how dumb you are. I think that like really was part of the motivation.
Yeah.
I think he also felt some responsibility because we were, you know, just out of high school or high school kids who he kind of plucked out, and some people didn't go to school, you know, as a result of doing Freaks and Geeks. So that movie got made like the year after I wrote it.
I had my own experience working on the late night show. We were constantly doing sketches. There would be a sketch that needed, you know, a kid to play me, you know, from 20 years ago, constantly, or a kid who is in the audience who doesn't understand something, constantly doing these sketches where we need kids. I remember very clearly sometimes there were kids that came up to me, maybe 8 years old, and this happened more than once, but they would come up to me and go, "Excuse me, Mr. O'Brien, I am Billy." "Oh, hi, Billy. You know, thanks for helping us out today. You're doing a great job at rehearsal. I just want to say you are a formidable talent." And I could look in the background and see the mother peering out of the dressing room like, "It's formidable. We went over this.
Say it.
You know, say it so that you're booked again, you fucker."
Yeah.
And it bummed me out.
Right.
It seriously, every now and then, one of those child actors, one was a little kid who nailed it and grew up into Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, yeah?
And you're like, okay, that's great. I think we had one or two of those, but for the most part, it is a perilous thing to be a child actor. And, you know, it's so fickle. And even as adults, full-on aging adults for myself, it's still hard not to pay attention to who's up, who's down, who's where. It takes, and that's with, you know, I didn't have anybody recognize me on the street until I was 30 years old. That's when I got the late night show. And I had a lot of grounding before then. So I have no idea. I think if I had been recognized or had any kind of cachet when I was 11 years old, I'd be a mass murderer.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
a very good one.
Yeah.
Methodical.
It is a very permissive culture that if you have some sort of success as a kid, you kind of get used to. You know, it's like it's junk food, and you know, kids don't have any self-control for junk food. They eat it all up.
Right.
And you're also learning how to convincingly be somebody else at the exact time you're trying to figure out who you are. So it's just a big mind fuck too, and it's a minefield to go through. And I'm really fortunate that somehow my sort of, you know, stock engine came out able to kind of navigate that, you know, somewhat decently. I mean, I am nuts. I'm crazy, but I'm functional.
I said you're squirrely. I didn't say you were crazy. Squirrely, hard to get a beat on you. I know there's a lot of stuff there I don't want to go near.
You can get near the cage. Just don't start poking around in it.
I would drive cross country with Arnett, Sean in a second. That's not happening unless, like you say, there's like a barrier, a caged barrier. I'm driving a police car.
Be in the back with a privacy glass.
No, you're in the back. I'm driving you.
Yeah, okay.
I'm dressed as a sheriff, and I'm driving you cross country, but there's a cage, and you're shackled. Every now and then, I pass you some green tea, but that's about it. That's all that's happening. It is interesting to me that a important linchpin of your turnaround, which you say is Arrested Development, the guy behind that, one of the guys behind it, and the narrator of the show, Ron Howard, famously one of the few examples of a child star who just nailed it in his adult life and seemed to make every right call. Did he ever give you any insight into that?
Only by example, you know, like during the vast wasteland of my 20s, I was in an attempt to try to self-educate. I'd watch a lot of news. I was a big fan of Charlie Rose. I'd watch that show religiously, and Ron Howard was on it once. And I remember watching his interview And, Ron Howard is at all times, it seems, just about the most gracious, magnanimous guy you'd ever find. And so I'm watching him just be incredibly warm and kind. And he's not doing that because he needs to kiss Charlie Rose's ass, or that he's nervous about being on the show, or golly gosh, or what. He's just genuinely that, and is not worried about coming across as an ass kisser or eager, or he's just being as kind as he is.
Yeah.
And is not worried about masking that, because if you grew up in the sort of cynical environment I grew up in, it's, it's like, well, make sure you look like you don't want it, or make sure that girl can't tell that you like her, be mean, or when you go on an audition, make it seem like you don't really want it, or that it's an inconvenience, whatever, toxic crap I was listening to as a kid. He was completely at odds with that, so I remember sitting there watching that interview and going, if I ever get relevance again, any sort of industry capital again, the greatest thing about it will be that I will be able to be as kind as I want to be and not worry about it coming across as being too eager and wanting the job, or, and then I got Arrested Development, like working for this guy. And he did all the voiceover, so he was never really on set. So I never really met him until after the show had been going for a while. And eventually I think it was pretty late, maybe 4 or 5 years into, I finally had dinner with him. And I told him this story, and I told him about what...
Did he narrate the dinner?
And then told you to fuck off.
Yeah. He pulled the mask back. He said, yeah, fooled another one.
Jason seemed perplexed. He wanted the eggplant risotto, but he didn't know if it was going to be too heavy.
Yeah, I think he understood what I was saying.
Yeah.
That not only his example kind of provided this North Star for me, but the actual show itself gave me the capital that I was, reaching for, hoping for, that I could stop kind of acting twice going into auditions, kind of like trying to be like, oh yeah, hey, what's up everybody, and it's fucking such a douchebag. I was just like, and of course it would make me incredibly nervous because I've got to pull off that performance, and now it's time to do the audition, and now I got to pull off this. I was just like exhausted.
Well, they say it's exhausting to be a pathological liar, because you have to keep all of your stories straight.
Right.
And it is exhausting to have to put on a persona.
Right.
To then audition for something where you're then another persona.
Right.
But then if you don't get it, you have to switch into the persona, which is, I didn't really need it anyway. I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's just garbage, so thankfully, I kind of got through that to a certain extent, but it was painful. I mean, my 20s were just like it was fun, but a real sort of head trip for me, because I'm transitioning from like all of that fame and success and easy road to not making as much money, not having the actual sustenance to because my confidence came from my work.
Yeah.
Now that I don't have the work, now what do I have the confidence on? It's just like, ay.
Can you identify, because 9 people out of 10 who went through what you went through would not have worked out. Can you identify something in you that helped you say, okay, I'm partying too much, this has to stop? There is an inner resource that you have,
right,
that 90% of people in your situation would not have.
But I perhaps, but I think everybody's got it, because all it was just goals and foresight and vision and everybody has a way they like to think of themselves.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that you can't do and certain things that you want to achieve and incorporate that make that vision legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew I wanted to be a husband, a dad, and I wanted to direct a movie as an adult. That was what I always said to myself as a kid. And so I knew I had to do certain things to make those 3 things happen. I had to build up sort of acting capital to be able to say, hey, now I want to direct, the famous t-shirt, right? I couldn't be like, a fucking drug addict and a drunk and expect to have any sort of relationship that had any legs. And then, being a father follows that.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to kind of wind down the 20s fun at some point. And I didn't know, do you get rid of all that stuff and then the work will come, or should I wait for the work to come to be sort of like, the little pacifier that allows me to like stop doing all the other stuff? It ended up kind of all happening at the same time, which was nice. But yeah, I guess it would just be that. So I don't think I'm not that special. I think everybody wants certain things for themselves in the future. And I think it's just about having perhaps the discipline to say, okay, you kind of got to do X, Y, and Z to get to A, B, and C. And at what point do you want to start to implement that plan? Hi, my name is Jason Bateman, and I feel pretty good about being Conan O'Brien's friend.
Wait a minute. You said you worked on this answer.
I know. But then I said I got nothing, and
pretty good.
But how?
With a dramatic pause beforehand.
But it's a question all the way through it, because I got to look, actions.
Pretty good.
I've got to go to the party invites. It's like I guess I'm feeling. The question is, are you Conan O'Brien's friend if you aren't invited to his Christmas party? And there's so many hundreds of people.
We've straightened this out.
No,
thousands are invited to the Christmas party. I invite thousands and about 50 come. But listen, we're going to just, because this has been a thing, and then I went on Smartlist recently, about you coming to the Christmas party. And it was a thing for a while. You claim you weren't invited.
I was shocked that there was a Christmas party. That a Christmas party had been going on for years.
But I think you were shocked that Christmas was celebrated. Because you're such a Grinch.
That Christmas had something to do with your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I was like...
Well, listen, the point is let's talk about Smartlist. It's a juggernaut. You guys are...
It's a pretty hard pivot. It's a real... that was a four-wheel slide.
Can I tell you something?
Right?
I just broke my hip pivoting. But no, the point I'm trying to make is, of you three guys, you got Will Arnett, you got Sean, is it Hayes?
Yeah, I think it's Haze.
Okay. And then you're Jason Bateman. Okay, there's the three of you. And you're the one that I have trouble getting a beat on. I got to say. You're the one, you're squirrely. You're squirrely, Bateman. I've always had a problem getting a beat on you. A huge fan of yours. I adore you, but I can't get a beat on the guy. I can't.
Because you can sense that I'm not sure why I'm there. Yes. And I'm not really sure why. I don't get it. I don't understand why people listen to it. I get that Will and Sean are appealing fellas. That's why they're two of my best friends. Mm-hmm. And we're not doing anything more than just the drivel that happens when we're in a car together or at a dinner or how. I just don't think that that's monetizable.
Right.
That you should ask for people's attention to listen to that.
Yep.
That you can monetize.
I agree with it about your podcast. I agree because I've checked it out, and I'm like, I can't believe that this is something people. I mean, what we're doing here.
You've got an array of talent here, and you've
hold on a second. Let me put my glasses on.
Even we would disagree with that.
You've done some prep. Right? I can see questions there.
No, this is your medical history.
Oh. You've got a handsome studio. You've got cameras around. This is very professional.
Yeah, also...
We're on a Zoom.
Also, can I just point out, I've been interviewing people around the clock since 1993. I'm a seasoned professional.
Exactly.
What Muhammad Ali was to boxing, I am to interviewing.
We can cut all this out.
Yeah, well.
You need lifts.
But... You guys with this, Arnett. But
yes, but
so I agree with
you. At least Will has, just sharp dagger humor.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a darkness that's fun to follow.
Yes.
A voice that's not bad to listen to.
No. I'd buy whatever truck he's selling.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it's professional grade.
Yeah.
He's got an opinion and he'll let you know it.
Yep.
Sean P. Hayes is just pure sunshine and is curious and is warm. And I'm trying to find the lane that I'm supposed to be in, which is the area in between those two, which I guess is just sort of listening and asking questions that I think the normal guy wants to know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I feel I'm easily replaceable.
Yes. I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say, I'm glad you said
I beat you to it.
No. I think you could come, you could go.
Right.
Whatever.
Which is kind of what I do in whatever the hell I do on camera too. I'm trying to just kind of be us.
I know that you directed quite a bit on Ozark, and that you must have been watching the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was go back to when you're a kid,
Yeah.
where you're watching other people make these decisions. Someone explained to me once, a lot of directing is making choices. Do you want this or do you want that?
Right.
So you're watching that and saying, I want to be doing that.
Yeah, it was Michael Landon on Little House on the Prairie. So right as I was starting to I'd done a couple of years of commercials and stuff like that, but I was starting to really kind of notice what this magic trick is of making fake life. Like, okay, so you point, because we all look through the paper towel tube when we're a kid, and you kind of you make that little tunnel that you're seeing stuff through. And outside that tunnel, the stuff you can't see, that's where all the gat can be, right? Like the microphone and the lights and all that stuff. And so just inside that tube needs to be pristine. And so I started to watch directors and crews kind of create this fake life. And Michael Landon was the director, executive producer, star, writer. Everybody loved him.
What was he like? Just because I grew up.
He was George Clooney.
My brother's obsessed with Bonanza and has been his whole life, and has made sure that all of us around him have watched almost every episode of Bonanza. So even though, yes, I know he went on to Little House on the Prairie and everything, I just can't believe that's Joe Cartwright.
Yeah.
I can't believe you even knew him.
Right.
What was he like as a person?
He was George Clooney would be like the perfect comparison today. His ease with people, with the process, with the business, with just Joe on the street.
Yep.
Women are crazy about him. Guys want to be his buddy. And so watching him juggle all those balls and kind of be this leader and presence on a set and be kind with people, but also be kind of a stern boss if he needs to. That was pretty inspirational. And so that's kind of where it started. That, and my dad never really took me to the park to throw the ball. He'd take me to, art houses, to watch foreign films and show me what directing is and what acting is and what's good and what's bad.
What if he only took you to art houses and showed you Bonanzas? Here's one where these cattle rustlers come to town. Michael. They were going to show a Truffaut film here, but we shut that down. This is going to be the Bonanza where, okay, all right. But that's beautiful that he did that.
Yeah. I mean, in retrospect, it was because it kind of planted the seed.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of went on from there. And I was always sort of tracking it and wanting to do it. And so paying attention to every set I was on after Little House. And then I actually went and spoke to the producers of the Hogan Family when I was 18 to see if there could be a slot for my dad to direct an episode. And while I was talking to the producers about that, they said, yeah, for sure. And do you want to direct one? And I said, yes, please. And ended up doing that. And then that was just sort of like, well, I guess now I can do this. It's a different thing directing stuff in front of a studio audience. It's more like directing a play, to be fair. But still, I got me my DGA card and I thought, and then I was really pursuing that career when Arrested Development came around. I was following James Burrows around.
Yeah.
Jimmy Burrows around and watching it. He's for the listeners who don't know, he was like the most
The
famous
Babe Ruth of all the great Cheers.
yeah, sitcom directors.
Sitcom directors, Friends.
Yeah,
you know.
I was like, well, when I turn my history of doing sitcoms into a positive instead of the negative that I felt it was at the time, and let all that experience maybe get me hired as a director. And so I wanted to be like the new Jimmy Burrows. And then Arrested Development came along.
This just popped in my head, but literally a couple of months ago, I had to go back to Boston quickly, see my family, and I always stay in the same hotel, and I get on my elevator to go down to the lobby, and it stops on another floor, and Jimmy Burrows gets on.
Really?
And this is a hotel that's right on the park, literally maybe 60 feet from the Cheers bar.
Yeah.
And I'm headed down, and Jimmy and I are talking. And I said, hey, Jimmy, you want to go over to the Cheers bar? Hang out? And he went, yeah, no. It's like, I don't know why that popped into my head.
I've been in there.
But yeah.
That's a cool spot.
Sure.
Yeah.
People go there. It's like people that go to one of the Central Perk coffee shops and think they're going to see Jennifer Aniston. They feel cheated that they're not. It's a bar. But I think the salvation is if you get into the work. Like for me, when I hear you talk about all this, is that you were very interested in making the stuff and the work. And to me, that was always the salvation. I wanted my goal. If you asked me when I was 20, what's your goal? I would say I would like to have a body of work, which sounds incredibly pretentious, but that's what I wanted. People could like it.
Yeah.
They could hate it. But I just wanted, when I was done, to have stuff that I had made that
As a writer.
as a writer, as a whatever, just as a performer, as a whatever.
Did you have on-camera aspirations at that time?
It's so funny. I knew that I could get a job as a writer, but I always was a performer as a writer. So I was always the guy that would get up and do stuff. At Saturday Night Live, I would do things in front of the other writers, start doing something, and they would be laughing.
And Lauren would notice this.
And Lauren would notice it, but also the writers would say, that's a sketch, that guy you're doing right now. And I'm just doing it because something's wrong with me.
Or you're trying to make it more, you're trying to get your point across to the other writers that this is what it needs to be, or that this sketch works if you play it paranoid. And so you gotta like do it.
But not even that. There were often times when I wasn't pitching a sketch. I was just doing.
Yeah.
You've seen it, Sona, where I'll just come in and I'll just be doing something that strikes me as funny or odd. And
That's all you do.
that's kind of all I do.
I don't know the real you.
And then we got to SNL, and I was doing that for someone like Odenkirk or Smigel, and they said, no, that's a sketch. That's a sketch. And I was like, oh, that's just a thing that I do.
Right.
And then that
just
was
write that down and make a living.
Many of the things that I've, over the years, that I wrote for SNL, or any of the things that I, over the years, did on late night, were just things that I did. Sometimes I would do them in the shower.
Right.
And my wife to this day will hear me in the shower saying, you've got some nerve. And well, they've all just grown accustomed to it, but that's where that came from.
Have you ever, and I apologize if it exists and I haven't seen it, but have you ever spent time doing multiple characters along with your writing, as you would have done had you been on camera at SNL?
What do you mean?
Well, like inhabiting multiple characters, playing some French pastry chef, and then playing a mechanic, and then as you do as a cast member.
I think we've done bits where I've been different people, but
not on the talk show. No. Right? Where you like dress up in costume and there's a wig and there's prosthetics.
Oh,
just like an SNL cast member.
Yeah. It's interesting because I always, when I was at SNL, I never looked at Dana Carvey or any of those guys and thought, oh, I could be doing that. Because I always knew the difference. I always knew there have been things where we would shoot something. We did something with Liev Schreiber once, which was a parody of that show, Studio 60. Remember there was a show that was a very serious
the Aaron Sorkin
show. Kind of he took a West Wing approach to like a Saturday Night Live, and people were giving him a hard time for it. And we decided to do a parody of it. And so Liev Schreiber, we got him to play me. So it was, and I got to play, so Liev Schreiber has the Conan hair. And my favorite thing is we got me a thin mustache, and you could probably see it online, and waxed back my hair. And I played the producer. And I'm talking to Conan, and I'm saying, God damn it, Conan. Women want to be with you. Men want to be you. You've got it all. The looks, the shot. And Liev Schreiber's brooding. And I'm talking about Conan in this,
What was this on?
It was on the late night show, I mean, we did thousands and thousands of hours of late night shows, and we would fill. So I guess the point is that for me, it's always been, I'm going to quote my dad, and I've quoted him many times on the show with this exact same line, but he always said, you're making your living off of something that should probably be treated, because it's very manic and I can't not do it. And I do it. I just got back from a vacation with my wife and kids. I did it there.
Right.
They just tune it out. They're not interested. They, as kids, I would call my kids together when my wife was not around, and I would say, kids, your mother's gone and I need to talk to you. And they would, and they would gather around me, and they would look up at me and go, is this real or is this a bit? And I'd go, it's just that I think, and they'd go, it's a bit, and walk away. So it's that 24/7.
I love that. I love being just a total whack job with my kids sometimes, but it's such an unreliable audience. I mean,
yes. Oh,
they're determined not to laugh.
Of course.
Right? So
No.
it's pain for you and for me to do that.
But also I love it. And
because if you can crack them, you've got something.
But also it's as it should be.
Yeah.
If your children are laughing and saying, God, Dad,
you're the greatest.
You're the greatest.
You got a problem.
You have a real problem.
Right. They want something.
Yeah. Exactly. With Smartless, with Arrested Development, Ozark, you've been able to play in this very rich environment and have this crazy success. And I'm intrigued because every now and then I get to talk to people on this podcast who sort of they got to have their cake and eat it too. And you're one of those people who I think has had this lovely arc where you start as a child actor, which is not a promising start for many people. And it really doesn't work, to the point where there have been times where I thought, should they just make it illegal to be a child actor?
Or force them to go into secondary education. You know, like, I didn't.
How old were you when you got your first, you did a cereal
10.
commercial when you're 10?
Yeah. I mean, it was a very tangible, I don't remember a lot, but I do remember being really filled with anxiety about being able to continue to make a living in a business that I was pretty aware that it was tenuous at best, that it was,
even as a kid,
fickle. Yeah.
Even as a kid, I think you did Little House on the Prairie, some commercials, you're on Silver Spoons, and I could see kids having two reactions to that. One, oh, I've landed in Candyland. I'm in Oz. This is just amazing. But you had the emotional intelligence to be anxious about it and think, I don't know if this is going anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, and I apologize to any listeners that have heard me twat on about this before, but it was, my parents were my managers, and they were making more money doing that than what they were. My mom was a flight attendant for Pan Am. My dad was a freelance writer, director, producer. And, 15% of what I was making at that time just ended up being more than what they were making in their careers. And so it became an important component to our overhead.
Yeah.
Like we were living in a certain condo that we wouldn't be able to live in if they were just using their salaries. And so you need a work permit to work as a little kid before you're 18. And that work permit is renewed every 6 months based on you maintaining a C average in school. And so the pressure on midterms and finals every year was immense for me because it was, 60% of your grade. And so studying for those and if I fail a midterm, I don't get my work permit, which means I'm kicked off the show, which means everyone on the show loses their job. We lose our house.
Right.
And plus I was also seeing just the churn of folks that were, hosting Saturday Night Live, 1 week, and then a year later, you just never hear from them, or maybe even a few months. So like I was aware, I was consuming pop culture. So all of these sort of touch points of adult responsibility were really tangible for me, which is curious then why I didn't get my high school diploma. I didn't go to college. I just doubled down. And thankfully, I was still doing a show till I was about 21, 22, I think, called The Hogan Family. This was after Silver Spoons, after It's Your Move. And then when that ended, then there was like this arid plain of my 20s of employment. Like I'd get one job a year and I'd kind of keep my head above water, but there was no cash cushion whatsoever because I was trying to catch up for all the time I'd lost being a kid too. So I was playing really hard in my 20s and I'm flying all over the place and paying for my friends' tickets and, so I didn't have a lot of money at all. In fact, I was in debt by the time I was in my 30s, by the time Arrested Development came around. And I was really thinking at that point, so the acting thing isn't going to work for me anymore, kind of like used goods. Television comedy was going in the direction of single camera comedy. I was known for multi-camera comedy, in front of a live audience. And so I was just kind of damaged, and especially when I heard about Arrested Development, like here's a single camera comedy and it's kind of a mockumentary and it's Ron Howard's behind it. And like, they don't want my garbage on that. But managed to guess right and get that job, and it was embraced by the industry, and it was that huge reset button for me. But prior to that, I really, really was my 20s it was not a comfortable period. I was really petrified about being able to support myself and have the rest of my career not be anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I thought about liquidating what little I did have, literally cashing out. And literally putting what cash I had in a duffel bag, driving to the Bradley terminal at LAX, looking up on that board, picking a city, and going and just kind of unplugging from this kind of not rat race, but competition. This, like every night's Entertainment Tonight. Who's doing great? Who's on your show? And I wasn't, and I had been. And so I thought, well, I don't want to continue playing at a game that I'm going to be, losing every single year. So why don't I go to like Tuscany and learn fucking, Italian, French, whatever, buy a coffee shop and just start over at the age of 25. I don't have a wife, don't have kids, have a bunch of friends, but let's go drink into more of those in Europe. Right. So I was very, very, getting it back to Arrested Development, that was a total paddles on the chest for me.
Do you ever think you blew it, that maybe you should have done that?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I mean, I'm just seriously, this coffee shop thing.
Sounds nice.
It sounds like a good coffee shop.
Really nice.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
Le Starbucks.
Can't go back, I guess. Can't go back. I was surprised to find out that you were inspired, some of your activism stemmed from this feeling you got from your dad.
From his movies.
From his movies.
Right. A number of years ago, one of Martin Luther King, Yolanda King, one of his daughters, called me to talk about something or other. And I was in the process of writing my memoir. And so I was curious. And I said to her, Yolanda, did your dad, Dr. King, did he, like take you on his lap and bounce you on his knees and talk about values, the kind of values you and stuff like that? She said, no, he never did. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, my dad never did either. But you had your dad's sermons. And I had my dad's films. Mm. He didn't really need to say much. I loved him and admired him so much. And I knew that the movies like Young Abe Lincoln and Grapes of Wrath and 12 Angry Men and Wrong Man, those kind of movies were the ones that he really loved and was proud of doing. And he loved those characters. Those are the movies that I identified with. And it was like putting fertilizer on my little soul. When there was something that triggered, which for me was the Vietnam War, all of that became fertile ground for activism.
Your dad, in so many of his films, and I'm thinking specifically when he's in Grapes of Wrath, that speech he gives about the little guy, and that's me, I'll be there.
I'll be there.
That's a speech that resonates maybe more now, or at least as much as it did during the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people out there that feel that they're being bullied, that they're being pushed around. And there's so many Henry Fonda films where the core idea is you have to stand up for the little guy.
Justice, fairness. There were no people of color around me when I was growing up on the West Coast in California. But there was my father's film, The Oxbow Incident, which was about a racist hanging.
Yes, yeah.
It meant so much to me.
That's a generation, whether it's Dr. King or Henry Fonda or even my father, people were not raised, I don't think men were raised back then to show a lot of emotion.
No, they were told not to.
Yeah.
Well, today still, our culture says, if you want to be a man, you don't cry, you don't express need. There's a wonderful movie. It's one of the nominated movies as Best Foreign Films. It's called Close.
I haven't seen it.
It's about this issue of boys in the beginning when they're young. They love on each other. They hug each other. They sleep together. They cuddle. They fall asleep on each other's shoulders. And then they start going to a school, they reach adolescence and it's suddenly, are you queer?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they get ashamed and then they pull back. And it's like a loss of humanity that happens because of our culture that says men aren't supposed to be vulnerable and express emotions. It's so sad. I want to, part of what I want to do is change that.
Well, I think you've done, for example, I thought it was very brave. It was also artistically hugely successful, but on Golden Pond, you and your father were laid bare, in a sense, your struggle to connect and put it on film for everybody to see. And I think when the movie came out, as much as I liked it, I couldn't appreciate how scary that is. That's scarier to me than jumping out of an airplane without a parachute, is exposing that kind of vulnerability with a parent, because so many people have a complicated relationship with their parents.
Especially people of a certain age with parents of a certain age, especially if the parents came from the Midwest.
Yeah. And so was your dad aware the whole time that that's what you were exploring, or could he tell himself, well, these are just characters? Because
these are just characters.
Oh, okay.
There's a scene where I tell him I want to be his friend. It's a scene where it's my big scene in the movie. Every time I read it in rehearsals, I would become very emotional because these are things that I never said to my dad. I want to be your friend. And then when it finally came time for me to do it with the camera facing me, I dried up. It was really hard. It was a really important scene for me.
Yeah.
And my dad always liked doing things that had been rehearsed. He wanted to know everything that was going to happen in advance. So on purpose, I did something that I hadn't done in rehearsal. When I said, I want to be your friend, I reached out and touched his arm. And he ducked his head and he went like this. But I could see that he got emotional.
Yeah.
Made me so happy. And I went to dinner at his house that night. And I told him how I had dried up and how I had a hard time with the scene because it was so personal. And I said, in your long career, Dad, did that ever happen to you? Nope.
Yep.
That was it.
Nope. Period.
Nope.
Yep.
He didn't say, well, tell me about what happened. And, he had no clue. Nope. But that's who he was.
Yeah.
Can't change it.
No. Well, it's funny. You find out later in therapy that parents, they're doing what they can with what they've been given.
They're doing the best they can.
They're doing the best they can. Not all parents. Sona, I don't think you're doing the best you can.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, just to jump out for a second.
Seems hurtful. I've only been a parent for like a year and a half, but you're saying I'm already just
You seem high most of the time.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not totally inaccurate.
It's those first early years where you really have to do the best you can.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Then I should
Yeah.
stop getting high all the time.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and I'm telling you, I am so really deeply happy and excited to be
Okay.
sitting opposite Conan for a conversation. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, oh boy, that's
But
too.
that's true.
Well, I can't handle that. And you know why I can't handle
No.
that? Because when I was a young lad, my dad took me to a movie theater that was showing sort of a revival house. It was Coolidge Corner in Brookline, Massachusetts.
Brookline.
Brookline, Mass. And I went there and I saw Cat Ballou
Oh,
and fell in love with you.
oh,
Fell
good.
completely head over heels in love with
Oh,
you.
I like that.
And then, well, then it just then I think I didn't see.
Let's just stop there. It doesn't get better than that.
Well, it does, because then I know this isn't chronological, but I was seeing these films a little later on. I saw Barefoot in the Park, and I remembered thinking, that's who I want to marry. I want to marry Jane Fonda, because I saw you as this newlywed in Barefoot in the Park, and I just...
Are you about to propose?
Yes. Yes, I am. I have a ring. I've talked it over with my wife. And by the way, my wife, if I called her up and I said, I'm leaving you for another woman, and it's Jane Fonda, she would say, go for it. Because she adores you as well. So,
And I could become one of those women who has a husband that could be her son.
well, yeah, I suppose.
No, you could be my son.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
That's cool. I think that's cool.
Take
Cher's
whatever you
doing
can
it.
get.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm sure I'll disappoint you in many ways, but let's not even get into that.
I love tall men.
Oh,
And, and I didn't really realize for a long time how tall you are. How tall are you?
I'm 6'4".
Oh, God, it's beautiful.
This is happening.
This is happening right now.
Yes. Wow.
Someone send out for some wine.
Prime time.
Eduardo, get some wine in here.
Prosecco.
Something.
You got it.
Oh my God, I'm just in heaven, but I don't know.
Can I say,
Yeah.
I am so happy for you that you are doing this podcast and not having to do a show.
Oh, thank
Because,
you.
Yeah, it's liberating.
It is
It gives you a
liberating.
life. You don't have to worry about hair. It's great. No, it's
I almost didn't bring my wig in today. I almost didn't do it. It's funny you say that, because you came on the late night show one time and you were terrific. It's 2014. But we couldn't talk like this.
No.
There's a band and there's an audience, and I loved doing that. And I did it for almost 30 years. But what I've loved about this is I knew that you were coming in, and I was excited because I thought there's so much we can talk about, and in an intimate environment. And I think if I had told you how much I loved you and wanted to marry you as a child in front of an audience, someone's going to intervene. Someone's going to step in the way and say, but here, no one, right?
We should have.
You should have. You should have stopped me.
We
yeah.
should have.
But
thank you. I'm honored that you felt that way.
feel that way. But there's so much to talk about. I was mentioning to you just as you walked in, I used to live on a street called Tigertail. And there was an older gentleman that lived on Tigertail when I first moved there about, I want to say 12 years ago. And this old gentleman said, when I first moved to Tigertail, I used to see, Jane Fonda riding up this road on a horse on her way back from school. And I thought, poor old man, he's lost his mind.
No, I used to ride a horse to school. It wasn't my horse. It was the school's horse.
Oh,
Was it painted yellow?
And they
it
would
had a little stop sign that came out every time it stopped.
they would loan it out to a few of us who were good riders.
Wow.
So you would ride home, and this is here in Los Angeles on the west side.
I'd ride down Tigertail Road, down Kenter to San Vicente, and what is now that centerpiece that has those huge coral trees.
Yes, yeah.
That was the trolley tracks.
That's right.
And it was also a bridle path. And I could ride that down to school, which was on the corner of San Vicente and 26th Street.
That's unbelievable.
I know.
So you were basically growing up in Los Angeles, but it could have been 1855, the way you were getting to school.
Yeah. if you didn't pay attention to the cars that were coming and going. But, you know.
Oh, right, those cars.
But,
yes.
No, but Conan, you know, it's wonderful to have been alive in the late 30s and 40s. The world had only 2 billion people, and that affected every nook and cranny of life. There were more birds. There were more empty spaces that a boy or a girl could explore and play in. I mean, we lived at the end of a dirt road at that time. I mean, you can't, there's so many houses where we used to live now, I can't even hardly find it. But where you live is the canyon in front of the 9 acres where we had a farmhouse.
That's unbelievable. You had 9 acres up there, and now it's all been developed.
There's about 20 houses on that piece of property. I can't even, as we talked about before the show started, you know, it's the first house that you live in is the one in your dreams, right? That house, that land at the top of a hill overlooking the Pacific Ocean during the Second World War, when we used to have, well, no, you don't remember. It was the Second World War had started, and there were blackouts, and we had to, you know, hide under tables during air raid drills and things like that. And so that's very much in my dream.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, because
and now I can't find it.
Well, I will find out where the house was, and my promise to you is I will find a way to buy all those homes, raise them to the ground, and I will restore your ranch.
And this is where the two of you will live.
And we're going to get married. Actually, no,
Yes,
I don't want to get married again. See, my dad was married 5 times. I've only been married 3 times, and I don't want to add to that. So we'll live in sin.
This is the greatest day of my life. This is the best day I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
I'm so
Jane
delighted.
Fonda can be your side piece, so you could still could still be married to Liza.
No,
that okay. All right, never mind.
Call Liza. You deal with it.
Oh man,
Sona, you're my assistant. You deal with
I'll
it.
call Liza.
You'll call Liza.
I'm going out on a limb here. I assume that you're married and
Yes.
Liza is your wife?
Yes, you are. Yeah,
Okay.
you're going way out on a limb. But yeah, 21 years we've been married. Yeah.
Okay, well,
yeah.
maybe I won't call her. Maybe we could do a threesome.
Oh, God!
He's just short-circuited.
Non-sexual threesome.
Wait, why not sex? What's happening?
He's short-circuited.
I'm blacking out. I can't handle this anymore. I just can't handle it anymore.
Sure you can.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay, yes, I can. You've achieved so much in film, and you've written this beautiful memoir, and you've been an activist. And then sometimes I forget there's this part of your career that anyone else could hang their hat on, which was the exercise videos. Anyone else who had done that could have been their whole claim to fame. It was such a massive phenomenon, and I think it got so many people thinking about their health. That's a gift that keeps on giving.
It is, yeah. It wasn't until I wrote my memoir and then I did a national book, actually an international book tour. But when I was in this country doing a book tour, you know, and when you have a book that you've written, people line up to have you sign their books. And there was mostly women, and there'd be some women that would wait until it was all done. And then they would come to me and they would say, do you remember I marched with you in 72 in San Diego? You know, and then someone else would say, this is often, Cat Ballou.
Yeah.
Cat Ballou is my favorite movie. Oh my God, that meant so much to me. And somebody else would say, your exercise video let me recover from a mastectomy. You know, you enabled me to be able to move my arm up and down. And I realized I've connected with people in this country on so many different ways.
Yes, you have.
And it took me by surprise. I hadn't really realized it, you know?
I think it's lovely that if anybody connects with anybody or with fans in one way, that's spectacular. But you know you've done something when someone comes up and says, Jane, I have to tell you, it could be one of 175 things that you've done that meant something to them.
Yeah.
And it could be part of your activism. It could be, as you said, the exercise videos. It could be one of, I mean, even if, okay, what's restricted to film, I can't count the number of films where you've had a huge impact. So That is a remarkable.
Do you remember Lyndon LaRouche?
Yeah.
Lyndon LaRouche was a horrible man who.
This was quite a turn, by the way. If you're listening, if you're driving right now, I hope you didn't just crash into a tree. Do you remember Lyndon LaRouche? No one else says that, but I do, yes.
This will get back. You know, he would send people into gay bars with chains to beat up gay people.
Yeah.
He had people standing at the airports holding signs, you know, like feed Jane Fonda to the way, you know, terrible, mean signs. And I read an article, this was like 1977. We were in a recession, that he funded all of this from a business, a computer business. And I thought, I was married to the Irishman then, Tom Hayden. I said, we got to start a business because we had a statewide organization, the Campaign for Economic Democracy. It was hard to fund. It's a huge state. We had offices up and down the state. And so we spent a year thinking, what business? A restaurant. Neither of us know anything about food, you know, of whatever. And then a very smart man who started Delancey Street. It was a house place where people could go who were recovering from addictions and things like that. John Marr. And he said, don't ever start a business that you don't understand. Well, that brought me up short because the only thing I really understood was exercise. And I had met a woman named Lenny Kasdan who was doing this workout. And we turned it into a business that funded the organization.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Copied Lyndon LaRouche. That's the...
Now, to be fair, I've watched Lyndon LaRouche's exercise videos, and he's wearing the leg warmers.
Yeah,
and,
I gained weight watching this.
I gained 200 pounds.
And an ulcer.
Yeah, it's funny how you bring that up. I mean, even today we live in a world where there's so much anger and there's
polarization. So many
people that are angry about how someone else is living their life, which I never understand. Do you know? Like, if it doesn't, how does that concern you if someone else is living their life a certain way? Why is that?
Well, if you're suffering, and you know that you're suffering because the fuckers in Washington, the neoliberals of the last many decades, pay more attention to Wall Street and to money and to bankers than they do trying to serve me living in the Midwest and the Rust Belt.
Yep.
And so if you're suffering and you grew up with your dad belonged to a union and his dad belonged to a union and they could afford to buy a home and send their kids to school and now you can't, and now you have to take a job as a waiter, of course you're going to be angry.
Yeah.
Of course. And that's why these elected officials have to start paying attention, not just thinking because the Dow Jones look a certain way that the people in the Midwest are going to be feeling okay. They're not.
I think one of the things that gets to me, though, is I think the anger is clearly legitimate. It's when people exploit it, get elected on it, and then don't do anything to really address the issue.
Yeah, I know who you're thinking of. We won't mention his name.
Is it Lyndon LaRouche?
It was you, Gourley.
What?
You didn't see that coming. But yeah, it's fascinating to talk to you and to see you're as fired up and passionate now about pretty much everything we've talked about as you would have been in 1975. And I'm wondering if, like, everyone's always trying to figure out what's the way to age and stay healthy. Clearly, you are the greatest example of being able to achieve that and in style. But at the same time, I think, you know, people wonder, what is it? What is it? And some people say it's staying connected. And I think also passionate. I mean, interested. And
curious. As you get older, if you've stayed interested and curious, you realize that it's all connected. There'd be no climate crisis if there was no racism. There'd be no climate crisis if there was no patriarchy. It's a mindset that sees things in a hierarchy. You know, white men are here, everybody else is down here, plants and other animals are down here, and they see a tree flooring. Oh, that would make a great floor, you know, or a door, or, you know, everything is to be exploited and monetized. That's led to the climate crisis, and it's all connected. And so when you know, how can you not stay passionate about trying to do something about it?
Yeah.
Because we have so much potential. I mean, we're so brilliant as a species. My God.
Yeah.
And the world is so mysterious and wonderful and complicated and deserves protecting. And we don't even understand the half of it. I did Fire Drill Fridays this morning, and my guest was a guy named John Hosever, he's a marine biologist, and he knows how to pilot a submarine underwater. He can go to the depths of the ocean. And, he's seen things that we don't even know what they are or what they can do. And here we are talking about deep sea mining that would destroy it all. I mean, we need humility, and we need to get rid of greed.
Yeah.
And we need to understand that the collective is what's important.
Yeah. Well, I think humility is, with a capital H, is massive.
Yeah.
There's such an arrogance when people think, well, it's 2023 and we know most of what mankind needs to know, and we don't know anything.
Nothing.
They're constantly finding, 100 years from now, they will laugh at what we thought
Yeah.
now. And
If we're even around in 100 years.
I'll be here.
Because of our ignorance. You'll be here. You will be here.
We'll be here.
Bobbing on the ocean.
My little pompadour sticking out of the
Your
water.
red pompadour sticking up like a wave.
I was thinking today, and I wanted to ask you about this because it only occurred to me much later, but we went through and are still going through the whole Me Too movement. And then I realized 9 to 5, which is 1980.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay.
Truly.
Yeah. And for good,
Truly
for
is.
good reason.
Yeah.
9 to 5. I want to say it's 1980. Yes. That movie is dealing with sexual harassment. And that movie is maybe 30 years ahead of its time, because there's a period of time, and you can still see it. You can see these movies where sexually harassing women is kind of a joke.
Yeah.
The guy in the office chasing the assistant around the desk
It's
is in New York.
quaint.
Yeah, it has a quaintness the way people that drank too much used to have a quaintness. But today you see it very differently, and it looks very different now. There were comedians like Foster Brooks, whose entire career was "I'm drunk," and Dean Martin. And now we have a different view of that. It doesn't immediately seem like a knee slapper to us. The boss sexually harassing women in the office who work for him, you guys made a movie about it that was a massive hit. And it was talking about something I think up to that point had not been, no one had really shone a light on it, I don't think.
Or wage theft. Or guys being trained by a woman who knows the business better than anybody and being promoted right past her.
Right.
All those kinds of things. I mean, they're all still out there in the workforce.
Yep.
I mean, the situation for people who work in offices today, in a way, is worse, because now those 3 women wouldn't even know who their boss was, probably would never meet him face to face.
Right.
They're hired by a contracting company that contracts them out to another company. And so who do you go to when who do you complain to? And then with computers, which we didn't have then, you can be so easily spied on. It's really hard. I mean, the 3 of us probably would have had 2 or 3 jobs.
Yeah.
In order to be able to afford the lifestyle that you saw us living at that time.
You talked about, I know you've talked a lot about Lily, but Dolly Parton, you bonded with her while making that film.
She is an amazing woman. She is so smart, and she's kind of psychic. She's really profound. I'm in awe of Dolly. I love her very much.
And she gave you advice because you had seen your father's reaction to fame, which if someone came up to Henry Fonda and wanted an autograph, he was terrified.
He would run. He spoiled more weekends with me and my brother when he would come and visit us, because he and my mother were separated. He would take us to Rye, New York, and he would take us there, and I'll never forget, a woman came and asked for his autograph, and he ran, and he was in a bad mood all day. It ruined the whole thing for us. He hated it. I mean, I don't know why, but he just hated it. And I was with Dolly. We went on the road. She was so grateful for me casting her in the movie 9 to 5. And I was preparing to do a story of a hillbilly, illiterate woman based on a book called The Doll Maker. And I needed to go there and meet those people. And Dolly, I said to her, "You're the only hillbilly I know." Can you help me?
And you know, it's cool. You can say that to Dolly Parton, and she's cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, I want to meet somebody who lives in a holler with no electricity or anything, so I can kind of flesh out my character. I went to Nashville. I stayed with her and her husband, Carl. That was an experience in her house. Carl cooked us breakfast. I said, how did you two meet? And he described the first time he saw her. He was driving a truck past a 7-Eleven, and there she was in the parking lot drinking a Crown Cola. And he was just sitting at the breakfast table. He said, no, you don't understand. It was like, and he fell over backwards.
Now that is love. Describing how you met your wife.
He is a handsome man.
Yeah.
Boy, I sang backup for Dolly at the Grand Ole Opry. Oh my God. And anyway, she put me on her tour bus with 3 or 4 friends of hers, and we spent 10 days touring Appalachia, Missouri, the Ozarks, Arkansas, and I ended up meeting somebody that I went back and lived with and chopped their wood and milked their cow and so on and so forth. So here we were on the road in the back hollers, with people who lived in tar paper shacks. Dolly came, and it was her tour bus, and she had the stateroom at the end. I never saw her not looking 100% Dolly Parton, the wig, the whole thing. Going to see these people, she presented herself just like they hoped she would. And I thought, yeah, that's how to do it. You've got to love those people who like you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh boy, does she have fans, and she just loves them and appreciates them. And she taught me a lot. She didn't say anything.
So she showed by example.
She showed by example.
Yeah. It's funny, when I was very young and I would meet one of my heroes, which would happen occasionally, I remember the feeling. In my case, it was John Candy, and I would have been 17. How old would I have been? I would have been about 20 years old, maybe. And I was in college, and I met John Candy, and he was one of my comedy heroes. And I was nervous about meeting him because I thought, well, sometimes you run into a famous person and they're cold. They're not who you thought they were. And he was everything I could have wanted him to be times 10. And I remember to this day the joy that gave me, that what he was demonstrating to me was, it's real. I really am that person that you like. And that has stayed with me forever. I've always wanted to be that way.
Good for you.
If I run into anybody anywhere, I want them to know that
that it's okay.
If you thought I was that person and you like me for that reason, I am that person.
Yeah.
And if it means that we sit and talk for 15 minutes, then we do.
Yeah.
So, and it's
so cool.
I'm glad that you found your way.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about your dad in the selfie era. If you think he hated an autograph.
Oh my God.
What's that?
TMZ.
Henry, that wouldn't have gone too well.
No.
I read I think it was a quote you said once, that it was Ted Turner who told you don't make friends after your 60s, and you have completely proven him wrong.
Yeah.
And
he also said you don't change after 60. And I said, I think you're in big trouble if you don't change after 60.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, 60 is when you start,
I'm a few months shy of becoming 60. Yeah.
Well, 60, in the way I look at it, is the beginning of your third act.
Yeah.
And in order to do a good third act, in order to know how to go forward in your third act, you have to know where you've been.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to spend a lot of time thinking about the first 2 acts, and even more important, your parents. Why are they the way they are?
Yeah.
Or were they are your parents alive?
My dad is 94, my mom is 91.
Uh-huh.
And they're out in the clubs every night.
How long have they been married?
I think, wow, good Lord.
Are they the only people
they got married at the very close of the Civil War. I wish I could tell you exactly, but I want to say it was 1958.
Okay,
I think they've been married,
so they've only been married to each other.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. That's how strict Irish Catholics, you marry, and then that's it.
No matter
That's
what. Yeah.
it, no matter what.
Yeah.
There were many times I'm still trying to get my mom to divorce my dad. I call her every day and say, it's time, go. But she's sticking it out.
You're trying to get her on the apps to start dating other guys.
She keeps swiping the wrong way. That's what's ruining it.
But finding out, I mean, you're lucky that they're still alive.
Yes, I am. Very lucky.
Both of mine were gone by the time I started my third act. But finding out why they are the way they are, how were their parents, what were your grandparents like, how did they treat,
Yeah.
what you end up when it's called doing a life review, and you end up realizing that whatever was fucked up had nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I turned my life review into my memoir. And in the course of doing it, I discovered why my mother was the way she was. And it had nothing to do with me, had to do with early childhood sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could forgive,
Yeah.
and that's such a beautiful thing.
I think
And
it's
one out of every 4 women in this country have experienced sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to try to tease that out if that's part of your family history, which means that you have to interview your parents separately.
I think the other thing too is there was such a reticence about talking about anything. I mean, I come from a very Irish Catholic culture, as you can imagine, and it's the same thing. Unpleasant things are not discussed. You don't talk about them. So laughter is allowed, and food is allowed. Sex is discouraged, and talking about anything that might hurt somebody's feelings is discouraged. So you get this strange ecosystem sometimes, and I'm just not my family. It's so much. I just watched the Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
I watched the Banshees of Inisherin,
and you identified.
And it's crazy. It takes place in I think 1920 or something, and it's on this island, and it's in Ireland. And I grew up in Boston, and my parents are very educated people, and I watched that movie with miniature donkeys and people cutting off their fingers and absolute madness. And not just me, but other Irish people that I know, other Irish Americans I know go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we're an insular, crazy people with a gift of gab, and we can be quite funny, and we get quite depressed, but we come from this island. And there's stuff in our DNA that's batshit crazy.
Yeah, I was married to one. My second husband, Irish Catholic.
How'd that go?
Beautifully and fabulously for much of the time.
Right.
And I'm really, really grateful. And we named our son Troy O'Donovan
Oh, there you go.
Garrity.
That's too Irish. That's a very Irish name.
Garrity.
He'll either be a playwright or a bartender.
He's an actor.
Those are the only two choices, I'm afraid.